Good morning. This is Don the Idea Guy of dontheideaguy.com. It is Monday, November 7th, and this is episode 40 of Running Through My Mind, the only podcast broadcast from a parking lot. Oh man, it is bright and sunshiny for a Monday in November here in Columbus, Ohio. I heard it's supposed to reach 70 degrees today. It is the day before Election Day, which happens tomorrow. I hope that everybody's going to go vote, no matter who you vote for. Hope you're going to vote. Gosh, what do we want to talk about today? Lots of things bounce around in my brain. I think that I want to revisit a concept that I share in front of my live audiences a lot. And that is when I do speaking engagements and I do live seminars, a lot of times the topics are on personal branding, a little bit of social media mixed in there, certainly some content development and positioning of yourself versus the company you might be working inside or for at that time. And I think a lot of people, when they hear social media is on an agenda, judge it immediately by the other experiences they've had with social media. And a lot of that is, I've heard about it before, I really don't need to deal with it. Same kind of with personal branding. I know what branding is. I've thought about it. It doesn't apply to me. And they think that my presentation is going to have something to do with how to. And actually, I go to great lengths to avoid the how-to for a couple of reasons. One is you can find out how to do anything on the internet in about 3 seconds by going to Google and typing in how to whatever. You might be able to do it in 2 seconds on YouTube by going there and typing in how to do whatever. And a lot of people don't realize that Google's the number one search engine. Most people will guess that, no problem. But when you ask what the number 2 search engine is, a lot of people will say Yahoo or Bing or sometimes even DuckDuckGo or whatever that's called. It's actually YouTube. YouTube is the second most popular search engine and the most used website to search for things. And that's because there are so many tutorials on YouTube about how to do anything. Recently, one of the headlights on my vehicle went out, and rather than have to schedule an appointment to take my car into a garage to have somebody replace it, sit around and wait for them to do it, or to get a ride and then have to come back and pick it up later, I just didn't want to deal with that. And I'm not a car guy. I'm not a work under the hood kind of guy. And still, I did a Google search, did a Yahoo search, not Yahoo, did a YouTube search on, I don't know the last time anybody did a Yahoo search. I did a YouTube search on how to replace the headlight, and I found 3 fantastic tutorials. Now, the way they build cars, it was still just a huge pain to do that, but it probably took me twice as long than it would take most people. But I did it myself. I didn't have to worry about paying somebody else to do it. I didn't have to worry about being car free for a day or an afternoon, or sitting around in a waiting area at a car repair place. So it was definitely worth the effort. But you can find out how to do anything on YouTube, anything on Google. So when I get in front of a group, I don't want to give them information they could find if I wasn't there. So my twist on that is I don't do how to. I deal with why bother. And it's a why bother conversation, because you can find out how to do anything, but you really have a hard time searching for why you should do something. And because that's so personal in regard to the business strategy you want to employ, in regard to your personal inclinations, the things you like to do, the things you hate to do, we dealt with that in a recent episode of Don't Hate, Automate. And that was, why would I give you advice on going out and finding something that you hate to do and try and make a living out of it? That's just not me. So, even if you could find a why someplace, you still have to apply it to yourself. And that's kind of what I try to do in the front of the room when I'm talking about the personal branding presentations, and even the social media pieces. Definitely the content creation summits. But let's talk a little bit about why bother. So you can find out how to do anything on YouTube and Google. Why bother? You have to kind of find inside yourself, and these are the motivations for you. And you have to think in terms of you. What's your long-term game plan? What is the long game for you? Is it striking out on your own and creating your own business? Is it finding 1,000 customers? Is it getting 100 people to sign up for your course or your email list or your live summit? Is it, do you want the ability just to take on 2 or 3 extra freelance people that you can keep going on the side as a side hustle while you're doing your regular full-time job? The why behind the why behind what you do is way more important than what you do. There's a fantastic book by Sinek, it's Sinek, that you may have heard of, but you probably haven't read. And if you read it, you loved it as much as I did, and you probably should go back and read it again. And that's Start With Why. Start With Why by Simon Sinek. While you write that down, I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. Hold on. That is a brief pause for sponsorship identification. That was a sip of Colombian Cheer from DripJoy Coffee, the sponsor of Running Through My Mind for the past few weeks. The coffee DripJoy sends is actually a subscription-based piece. So, we talked about the why behind things. And the why is really strong on DripJoy's website. You can find out more at dontheideaguy.com/DripJoy, and you'll find the reasons why they began their coffee company, because they thought that the coffee that came inside of K-Cups should be of higher quality. That it's basically the most brewed coffee type now are K-Cups. And, there's millions of these cups being made, but there's not a whole lot of good coffee going inside them. And DripJoy focused on delivering a better coffee experience for people who wanted to use instant cup, single cup brewing. And I think they've done that. They've got 4 brews that I've tried over the last few weeks, and I'm a huge fan of all of them. But, judge for yourself. Go to dontheideaguy.com/DripJoy. Sign up to get a box delivered to you. You're going to buy a box of these K-Cups anyway. They are K-Cup compatible to any standard Keurig brewer that you're using, which is awesome, because I didn't have to go out and buy a new brewing system like a lot of the Nespresso. If you didn't like K-Cup, you had to go buy a Nespresso machine, and that's a totally different experience. Different style cups, and you can't cross back over. And I didn't have to buy a new machine to just try a new coffee, which turned out to be a much better coffee. And, I'm a subscriber. I'll be a subscriber at the end of the show. So I'm glad I ran into them as a sponsor. Hopefully you learned about them here as well. If you did, drop them a line. You can find them on Twitter and Facebook at DripJoy. And if you send me a message, I'll be happy to pass it along. All right, that's enough about the sponsor. But they knew their why. DripJoy knew their why when they started their business. I knew my why when I started as Don the Idea Guy. I wanted to help more people come up with stronger ideas. And you don't have to stick with the one thing you came up with, but if you shift gears, you should know why as well. So at some point, I started leaning equally towards not just creating new ideas, but helping people put ideas into action. So if they needed a business idea, I could help them come up with an idea that met their why before that book even came out. It was just, what drives you, kind of a connection. But it turns out to be your why. Why do you want to do something? So I can help them come up with better ideas to start a business by aligning it with their desires. And then once they have an idea, I can help them strategically put it into action. I had actually run across many of the people that I consult with have some ideas, but they're kind of basic ideas. It's an entryway idea that gets them in the door to go, let me explore this concept of starting something myself. And then when we work together, we can kind of amplify that concept to help them put it into action without a gigantic investment, help them put it into action while maybe they have the comfort of the income from a day job or part-time work, help them put it into action by starting with 1 or 2 clients to get it rolling, to see if the idea can be verified, that people will actually pay you money for what you want to offer. So my why has transferred from I want to come up with stuff to have opportunities to create ideas to I want to help people come up with and implement more effective ideas. So that's the why bother for me. What's the why bother for you? What are the reasons that you want to do what you want to do? What's the driving force behind your desire to explore this new avenue that's been poking at your brain, to launch some new product, to manufacture some new item, to start a podcast? That there was a very strong why bother for me whenever I started this podcast 40 episodes ago. And, we're on 40. I'm not sure this is going to be a forever concept, but I've done the proof of concept for this podcast to know enough that I can produce a podcast quickly. I can make it interesting and engaging because I've interacted with several people who have told me such. And, what is the next iteration for this? Why would I keep going? I think you need to ask yourself why along the way as well. You might be doing something for a while, like I was trying to do solely idea generation for a long time. And it's like, well, why would I keep doing this? And the why became, I really like helping people launch their products and make them a reality. And that brought me into the implementation side, which I find equally exciting. So what excites you? And why do you want to get involved with it? And when you're working with your clients, help them with their whys. They may come to you for how, but they'll stay with you because you help them with the why. And that's it for today's episode. I want you to think about the fact that how-to is basically a dime a dozen, right? I can find that with a robot search, how to do anything. But why? Man, if you work on the why with your clients, that's where you get the wows. The wows come from the whys, from discovering the whys, because it requires asking questions that perhaps they've never been asked before. It requires proposing concepts that they've never considered before. And, that'll keep your clients coming back to you like they keep coming back to me. So that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow for special election day coverage of Running Through My Mind. In the meantime, enjoy your week and have a happy Monday.